My name is Janet R. Meredith. I am 32 years old. And the morning I discovered my boyfriend had slept with his coworker, he told me to stop acting like a victim. Ethan and I had been together for 5 years. We met through mutual friends shortly after college. He was studying marketing then, ambitious, charming, and capable of turning an ordinary conversation into something that felt exciting. He talked constantly about climbing the corporate ladder, leading major campaigns, and someday becoming an executive. I was a software engineer. My job was stable, structured, and well paid. Ethan used to say we balanced each other. "You give us security," he told me. "I make sure life never becomes boring." I thought that was a compliment. 2 years before everything fell apart, Ethan lost his job. I covered the rent on our city apartment so he could focus on interviews. I spent weekends helping him prepare presentations, introduced him to professional contacts, and canceled a vacation so we could afford the certifications he claimed would transform his career. When I received an offer for a promotion in another state, I turned it down. Ethan had just started a new position and said moving would destroy his momentum. I stayed because I believed committed couples made sacrifices for one another. Over the final few months, something changed. Ethan began staying late for team-building events and client dinners. He came home smelling like alcohol and unfamiliar perfume. Whenever I asked simple questions, he accused me of becoming controlling. "You're too predictable, Janet," he said one night. "Where's your spontaneity?" The words hurt, so I tried harder. I planned surprise dates, bought thoughtful gifts, cooked his favorite meals. Nothing reached him. The truth arrived on a Friday morning after his company holiday party. Ethan had come home after midnight and collapsed into bed without changing his clothes. The next morning, I was making coffee when his phone vibrated on the counter. A message appeared from someone saved as Marissa, work. "Last night was wild. Can't wait for round 2. A winking face followed. My stomach dropped. Marissa was a sales manager Ethan mentioned often. Driven, confident, exciting. I waited until he woke up. Then I placed the phone on the coffee table between us. "What is this?" Ethan stared at the message. For one brief second, guilt crossed his face. Then annoyance replaced it. "Oh, come on, Janet. It was just one night." I looked at him, certain I had misunderstood. "You slept with her?" "We were drunk. Things got out of hand." He crossed his arms. "Stop acting like a victim. It isn't like I planned it." The casual cruelty left me speechless. Ethan leaned back against the couch as though he were defending a harmless mistake during a work meeting. "Marissa understands my world," he continued. "She has ambition, energy. We've been flirting for weeks, and last night it finally happened." "For weeks?" "It was one time." "That doesn't make it better." "You're overreacting. People cheat. It happens. If you loved me, you'd forgive me, instead of turning this into some tragedy." I stared at the man I had supported through unemployment, career changes, and financial uncertainty. He did not look ashamed. He looked inconvenienced. "Our life has become stale," Ethan said. "Work, dinner, television, sleep. Marissa makes me feel alive. You're always buried in routines and code." "The routines that paid our rent?" His eyes narrowed. "This is why talking to you is impossible. You make everything about what you sacrificed." I stood and walked toward the bedroom. Ethan followed. "What are you doing?" I pulled a suitcase from the closet and began packing. He laughed nervously. "You're seriously leaving over one night?" I folded a shirt and placed it inside. "You're right. It was just one night." I added my jeans, books, laptop, and important documents. "And this is just one breakup." His confidence disappeared. "Janet, stop. We can go to therapy. I'll block Marissa." I zipped the suitcase. He followed me from room to room, crying now, insisting he loved me and that Marissa meant nothing. "You're my stability," he said. "You're my rock. A rock you stepped on to reach her." I carried the suitcase outside. Ethan followed barefoot, still talking as I loaded my car. I entered the driver's seat. He tapped frantically on the window. "Please say something." I lowered it slightly. Goodbye, Ethan. He was still begging when I drove away. The drive to Jake and Lisa's house felt endless. Ethan's figure disappeared from my rearview mirror, but his words stayed inside the car with me. Stop acting like a victim. It was just one night. You're too predictable. I gripped the steering wheel and kept driving, letting the city blur past. I did not cry until I reached Jake's driveway. He opened the door before I knocked. Lisa stood behind him, took one look at my face, and immediately pulled me into a hug. I spent that night on their couch staring at the ceiling. Every sacrifice replayed itself like evidence in a trial no one else could see. The weekends I spent helping Ethan prepare for interviews. The promotion I rejected because he refused to move. The vacation we canceled so he could afford another certification. I had believed we were building together. Now I understood that I had been building while he enjoyed the shelter. For the next several days, I called in sick and stayed in Jake and Lisa's guest room. Jake offered beer, terrible jokes, and simple loyalty. You didn't lose someone worth keeping, he told me. You escaped someone who thought loyalty was boring. I wanted to believe him, but betrayal creates questions even when the answers are obvious. Had I become too safe? Had I ignored the warning signs? Had Ethan stopped loving me months earlier while I kept trying harder? I did not contact him. No calls. No messages. No accusations sent to mutual friends. Silence became the only thing I could control. Within 2 weeks, I found a small apartment in a quieter neighborhood. It had one bedroom, plain walls, and barely enough furniture to fill the space. But nothing inside it belonged to a lie. I joined a gym downtown and started running until the ache in my legs drowned out the ache in my chest. I also applied for the senior engineering position I had once rejected. The interview panel asked why I was ready now. Because I stopped postponing my own life, I said. I got the promotion. The new role demanded longer hours and more responsibility, but the pressure felt clean. Every difficult project belonged to me. Every success remained mine instead of becoming another sacrifice made for someone else. Therapy helped too. Once a week, I sat across from Dr. Patel and tried to explain why Ethan's dismissal hurt almost more than the cheating. Because he did not only betray you, she said. He tried to make your pain unreasonable. That was exactly it. He had broken the relationship and then demanded that I apologize for bleeding. Months passed. I began hiking again, reading novels I had abandoned, and meeting people outside the circle Ethan and I once shared. I dated casually a few times. Nothing serious. But enough to remind me that I was not broken or undesirable. My inner questions slowly changed. Instead of asking what I had done wrong, I began asking what I wanted next. Meanwhile, Ethan's exciting new life with Marissa began collapsing. Jake heard the first details through Lisa. The supposed one-night mistake had become a full affair. Marissa convinced Ethan that they had something rare and ambitious, then used information he gave her about a major client account to strengthen her position at work. She earned the promotion Ethan believed they were both competing for. Then she stopped returning his calls. Rumors about the affair spread through the office. Someone had seen them leaving the holiday party together. Human Resources investigated because Marissa had influence over one of Ethan's projects. Ethan received a formal warning. His reputation deteriorated. Coworkers stopped trusting him. He missed deadlines, lost a major project, and was passed over for a raise. Without my income covering half the rent, he had to leave our old apartment and move into a cramped studio. The same routines he had mocked suddenly looked valuable once he had to manage everything alone. Mutual friends began distancing themselves from him after hearing how calmly he had admitted the affair and blamed me for it. His mother called once. "Ethan is struggling," Helen said. "You should be the bigger person." He slept with someone else. He made a mistake. He made weeks of choices before that night. Her voice sharpened. "You just walked away without fighting for the relationship. I fought for it for 5 years. He ended it." I hung up and blocked her number. Ethan began appearing indirectly online. He liked old photographs of us. He commented on posts where mutual friends tagged me. Then, 7 months after the breakup, an email arrived at my work address. The subject line read, "Can we talk?" His message was long. He said Marissa had been the greatest mistake of his life. He admitted that work had become unbearable and that he missed our routines, our dinners, and the calm apartment we shared. "I miss the life we had," he wrote. "Please meet me for coffee." I deleted it. A week later, he sent another message from a new number. "Work fired me. Marissa ruined my reputation. I'm staying with friends. Remember how we always supported each other? I need that now." He did not say he missed me. He missed support. He missed rent being paid. He missed having someone absorb the consequences of his decisions. I did not reply. 3 days later, someone knocked on my apartment door. When I opened it, Ethan stood in the hallway. His eyes were red, his clothes were wrinkled, and the confident man who once told me to grow up looked frightened. "Janet," he whispered, "please let me in." I remained in the doorway. "There is nothing left to discuss." His expression cracked. I was wrong about everything. For one brief second, I wondered whether remorse had finally reached him. Then he said the sentence that revealed the truth. "I need you." Not, "I love you." Not, "I am sorry for what I did to you." "I need you." And suddenly, I knew exactly how this conversation would end. Ethan stood in the hallway, looking smaller than I remembered. His eyes were swollen, his shoulders slumped, and the confidence he once wore like armor had vanished. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then he repeated himself. "I need you." The words settled between us. I kept one hand on the door. "You need what I used to do for you." His face tightened. "That's not fair." "It's exactly fair." He shook his head quickly. "No, Janet. I miss you. I miss us. The apartment, cooking together, movie nights, everything. The life you called stale. I was stupid. You were cruel." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Marissa manipulated me. She knew exactly what to say. She made me feel like I was falling behind, like I needed to take risks. You flirted with her for weeks." "I know." "You slept with her." "I know." "You sat on our couch afterward and told me I was acting like a victim." His eyes dropped. I was defensive. "You were unremorseful." Tears gathered in his eyes. "I'll do anything. Therapy. Couples counseling. I'll change jobs. Move. Start over. Just let me come inside." The request made something inside me harden. Ethan had not come to apologize without expectations. He had arrived expecting shelter. "No." His face went blank. "What?" "You cannot come in." His desperation shifted into disbelief. "After 5 years, you can't even give me one conversation?" "This is the conversation. Janet, please. I have nowhere to go." "That is not my responsibility." He flinched as though I had struck him. Then the sadness disappeared, replaced by the anger I remembered from the breakup. "So that's it? You're just going to stand there while my life falls apart?" "You stood in our living room and watched mine fall apart. That was different." "No. It only felt different because you were the one causing it." His jaw tightened. "I came here humbling myself. You came here because Marissa discarded you. That isn't the only reason." "Then why didn't you apologize before she left?" He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. The silence answered for him. I stepped backward and began closing the door. Ethan placed his hand against it. "Wait. Move your hand." His expression twisted. "You think you're better than me now because of one promotion and a new apartment?" There it was. The mask finally slipped. "I never said I was better. You're enjoying this." "No. I'm protecting myself." He laughed bitterly. "You'll regret this when you realize no one else will put up with your cold, predictable life." The insult sounded almost identical to the one he had used months earlier, but it no longer hurt. "Goodbye, Ethan." I closed the door. He stood outside for several minutes. "First," he pleaded. Then he insulted me. Finally, his footsteps faded down the hallway. I changed my building access code the next morning. After that, The pressure came from his family. Helen called from another number and accused me of abandoning Ethan during a mental health crisis. "He's barely eating," she said. "He lost his job. He needs someone who knows him. He needs professional help. He needs you." "No. He wants access to the person who used to fix everything." Her voice sharpened. "You women act like one mistake erases years of love." "It was not one mistake. You're punishing him. I'm leaving him with the consequences of his choices." I ended the call. A cousin of his sent me a message telling me to grow up and forgive. Another relative claimed that real love survived infidelity. I blocked every number. The harassment only confirmed what I had begun to understand. Ethan's family did not care whether reconciliation was healthy for me. They cared that Ethan was difficult without me managing his emotions and finances. Meanwhile, my own life continued expanding. The senior engineering role led to a consulting opportunity. I joined a local technology group and began mentoring younger developers. That was where I met Daniel. He worked in cybersecurity and had a dry sense of humor that appeared only after he trusted someone. He preferred quiet dinners to loud parties and spent weekends restoring an old motorcycle in his garage. Our first conversation lasted nearly an hour. We disagreed about data privacy, laughed about terrible workplace software, and eventually discovered we both loved hiking before sunrise. Daniel asked me to coffee. I almost refused. Not because I disliked him, because peace had become precious, and I was afraid letting someone new into my life might disturb it. Dr. Patel encouraged me to stop confusing caution with isolation. "You do not have to trust him immediately," she said. "You only have to observe whether his actions deserve trust." So I went. Daniel was consistent. He called when he said he would. He listened without redirecting every topic toward himself. When I told him I needed time before entering a serious relationship, he accepted it without sulking or pressure. Several weeks later, I told him about Ethan. Daniel did not call me foolish for staying 5 years. He did not describe Ethan as competition. He simply said, "You deserved honesty." The simplicity of that response moved me more than dramatic reassurance would have. By the 9th month after the breakup, Daniel and I had begun dating seriously. Jake and Lisa were also preparing for their wedding. They planned a small outdoor ceremony in a park overlooking the city. I accepted the invitation and listed Daniel as my guest. Sarah was not invited. Jake made that clear. "She burned too many bridges," he said. "This day isn't going to become another one of her crises." The wedding afternoon arrived bright and cool. Strings of lights hung between the trees, music drifted across the lawn, and for the first time in months, I felt entirely present. Daniel and I sat at a table near the edge of the reception, laughing over champagne while Jake attempted an awkward dance with his new wife. Then I saw movement near the entrance. Ethan stood beside a distant acquaintance. He had not been invited. His hair was untidy, his clothes hung loosely from his frame, and his eyes scanned the tables until they found me. The moment he saw Daniel beside me, his expression collapsed. He began walking toward us. Ethan crossed the reception lawn with the stiff determination of someone who had rehearsed a speech in the car. Daniel noticed him before I said anything. "Is that him?" he asked quietly. I nodded. Ethan stopped beside our table, forcing a smile that never reached his eyes. "Janet?" "Ethan." His gaze moved to Daniel. "I was hoping we could talk privately." "We're in the middle of a wedding. It'll only take a minute." Daniel looked at me, leaving the decision entirely mine. I stood, not because Ethan deserved the conversation, but because I wanted there to be no unfinished business left between us. We walked toward a cluster of trees near the edge of the park. Music and laughter continued behind us, but several guests had already noticed him. Up close, Ethan looked worse than he had outside my apartment. His cheeks were hollow. His suit was too loose across the shoulders, and his eyes carried the frantic exhaustion of someone who had spent months searching for a way back into a life that no longer existed. "I had to see you," he said. "You weren't invited." "I know." "Then why are you here?" He looked toward the reception tables. "I heard you were bringing someone." "So you crashed our friend's wedding?" I just needed one chance to explain. "You've already explained." His hands began fidgeting. No, you don't understand how bad things have become. He told me Marissa had destroyed his reputation at work. She had shared private messages, blamed him for the affair, and convinced several former colleagues that he had harassed her after she ended things. He had lost his job and moved back in with his parents. Friends had stopped returning his calls. Even Helen had begun telling him he needed to take responsibility instead of waiting for me to rescue him. I'm applying everywhere, he said. But no one wants the guy connected to an office scandal. I'm sorry you're dealing with that. Hope appeared in his face. I knew you'd still care. That doesn't mean I want you back. His expression fell. Janet, please. We had something real. You threw it away. I made a mistake. You flirted with her for weeks. You slept with her. Then you blamed me for being hurt. I was scared. You were arrogant. He swallowed. I know that now. I looked at him and searched for the remorse he claimed to have found. What I saw was fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of financial instability. Fear that the person who had always made life easier would never return. I can change, he insisted. I've started therapy. I'm not drinking. I've cut everyone toxic out of my life. That's good. We can rebuild. No. The answer came without hesitation. His eyes filled with tears. Why not? Because your growth does not obligate me to reopen the wound. He stepped closer. Daniel doesn't know you like I do. You knew me well enough to understand exactly how your betrayal would hurt. His face tightened. I was different then. So was I. He looked past me toward Daniel. You've been with him for what? A few months? You're really choosing that over 5 years? I'm choosing respect over history. His voice rose. After everything we had, you can just throw it away? I almost laughed at the irony. You told me it was only one night. He went still. I held his gaze. So this is only one relationship. Stop acting like a victim. The color drained from his face. That's not fair. Those were your words. I was wrong. Yes. Tears spilled down his cheeks. I'm suffering, Janet. I suffered too. But you're fine now. I worked to become fine. He stared at me as though my recovery were another betrayal. I continued calmly. You chose excitement over loyalty. You dismissed my pain as drama. Then, when the exciting life collapsed, you came back asking for the stability you once mocked. I came back because I love you. No. You came back because you need somewhere safe to land. His sadness shifted into anger. You think you're better than me now? No. You have the promotion, the new apartment, the perfect boyfriend. Daniel is not perfect. He is honest. Ethan's jaw clenched. You're cold. I learned boundaries. You'll regret this. I already regretted staying as long as I did. Behind us, the music changed and the wedding party began gathering for photographs. I stepped back. This conversation is over. Ethan looked toward the tables where Daniel waited. So that's it? Yes. I turned away. He called after me. Enjoy your boring life. I stopped for half a second. Then I smiled. I do. When I returned to the table, Daniel stood. Everything okay? Now it is. He did not ask me to repeat every word. He simply took my hand and guided me back toward the celebration. Ethan remained near the trees for several minutes. A few guests watched him, whispering. Eventually, he left alone. I never heard from him again. Months later, Daniel and I took a trip to the mountains. We woke before sunrise and sat beside a quiet lake while fog moved across the water. Nothing dramatic happened. No chaos. No grand declarations. Just peace. I once believed peace was something fragile that other people could take from me. Now I understand it is something I choose to protect. My name is Janet R. Meredith. Ethan said the betrayal was only one night. He was right about one thing. One night was all it took to show me who he truly was. And one breakup was all it took to give me my life back.